Welcome back to Under Oath. Today we have actor, writer, comedian, director, host, and entrepreneur, Aisha Tyler.
Hey, how's it going?
Oh, God, you're like the Michael Caine of actors. I see you everywhere.
That's so nice. I will absolutely take that. That is a massive compliment. Thank you.
It is. I actually read your book last night, and I have never done that for a guest ever. I've never read the book.
Oh, my God. Thank you.
I went in there. I read the self-inflicted stories. I mean.
Oh, yeah. Oh, thanks
God.
so much. That's super cool.
That is like the Judy Blume for adults.
It is, isn't it? It started from my podcast, honestly, because I used to have my podcast guests tell a self-inflicted wound story on Girl on Guy, because I always felt like you'd hear Chris Rock talking or Charlize Theron or Viola Davis, and you'd be like, well, they're just perfect people that fell from the sky. Like, they've never made a mistake. And so the whole idea was, in hearing them talk about something that went wrong in their life that was their own fault, you realize that success isn't about, the absence of failure. It's about persistence through failure. And also, it's great to hear a famous person tell you about how they crapped the bed. So that was really where it came from. And then I wrote a book of all of my own self-inflicted wounds for the similar reason. Yeah.
I've done stand-up comedy for about 5 years. I'm an attorney. I host this show. I write comic books. I do all this stuff. And I finally found a kindred spirit. I was going, somebody who's doing way more than they have time for. It's amazing.
Then they should, right? They're doing it all. But that's amazing, because I always feel like you should do everything that excites you, right? And you should challenge yourself. And you don't know how it's going to go until you get into it. And that's the thrust of the book, Self-Inflicted Wounds. It's like, you might as well try it. Like, how about, the worst that's going to happen is that you fail, and then you move on with your life and you do something else. It's a great way to move through the world.
Now, what I love is, let's put something else on the pile. And the new thing is, you have a new pre-made liquor group out there. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it? Yes,
I will. So Philosophy, pronounced like philosophy, is a line of organic, ready to drink premium cocktails. And we just launched with our first drink, which is a margarita. And it really came, honestly, out of just what you were talking about, Jeff, which is that, like, I work really long hours. And when I come home at the end of a long day, I wanted a drink, and I didn't want to make it. And it was really a very pure business proposition. Like, I felt like if I felt this way, probably other people felt the same way. Like, I'm a real quality over quantity drinker, and I'd get home and I'd just be wiped. And I was like, man, it'd be so great if a margarita just appeared in my hand right now, And so I started the business just based on that premise. And I started working out before COVID, but I hired my business partner. It's just two of us. It's me and my co-founder. We were talking about what we were going to start with, and the margarita is the most popular cocktail by far, by a margin of millions in the country. It's the most popular cocktail, or probably in the world. And I was like, well, it can't be done, because every ready-to-drink margarita in the market tastes like trash. And
horrible.
I'm not naming any. Yeah, horrible. It's the worst. It's like the worst thing that ever happened to you when you're drinking.
Like Zima, but with margaritas.
Yeah. I would say, like, something you would also use to clean your counters or potentially cool down your car engine. Yeah. And so I was like, well, if they're all this bad, maybe it can't be done. But I imagine, like you, I am one of those people, if you tell me I can't do something, I immediately run long towards it without putting my pants on. And so I started formulating a prototype margarita during COVID, and I sent, like, at 1 a.m, because during COVID, like, time was a concept, right? Like, but it was 1 a.m. or 1 p.m. It didn't matter. And like 1 a.m, I was like, I think I have it, and I sent him the prototype for the margarita that we finally ended up bringing to market, and it's completely organic, no artificial colors or flavors, no dyes, no preservatives. Only 3 ingredients, just tequila, triple second lime, all organic. So, and it's clear, which is always the big thing people trip over. But the reason those other margaritas are green is because they're made with really crappy ingredients. And so they add the green stuff to cover up the fact that if there was no dye in it, they'd probably look brown.
Yeah. The sour and everything they use for it.
Yeah, they're just weird oxidized ingredients. Yeah.
So this is high end. This is not, we're talking high end material, high end everything, because a lot of people, they go, well,
this is the margarita that you, go ahead, sorry.
It's, I looked it up. I went to the website, and I was going, okay. And I was thinking, how do I market this? How would I market it? And listen, we are the best at what we do. And it's real simple. If you want to buy stuff in a can, knock yourself out. Get the jar of wine, the bucket of wine for the refrigerator. But if you want something solid, you need this product. And I think that's a sale on it, because I was looking at it going, okay, a lot of people don't understand the differences between tequilas and everything, because this is you're not just throwing in like a gold tequila in there. This is
oh
clean.
No, we have a listen, if you really want to get into like the weeds, we have a biodynamic farm. They grow our agave, they make our organic tequila, they then make our triple sec with that same organic tequila, so that we're not putting any weird like neutral grade spirit or other like lower grade spirit into this really high quality tequila. And then they bottle the margarita there on site. And we ship it in from Jalisco. And like, if you're a tequila head, then the NOM is 1563. Like, we could really get into but all you need to know up there, America, is that it tastes effing great. And that is what I tell people. Like, I'm not a spokesperson of my company. So a lot of times I'll go to like the local liquor store and I'll be pouring margaritas for people. And they're always like, is that Aisha Tyler from Archer pouring me marg? And I'm like, yes, it is. Yes, it is, because it's my company and I love it. And I don't have to give them the spiel. I just say, this is the best tasting ready to drink margarita you have ever had. I guarantee it. And that's the selling line for us. And that sometimes people are like, I don't know, I don't really like those. I'm like, just taste it, bro. And then they taste it and then they buy a bottle, or sometimes 3 or 4, because, margaritas make the world a better place.
Now, I did come up with something. Was thinking about this as I was looking at the product and everything else, because I'm always on top of it. I would have, and I'm just saying this, I would have the diet version of it. I mean, see, because that is a huge market. Because I know
it is.
Yes, because I know a lot of women. They go, "Can I get a skinny margarita?" They ask for this, and it's just. I think because we're so conscious now, it'd be like the Diet Coke of alcohol. Just
right.
Putting that out there.
So we thought about it a lot, because sometimes people ask us like, how much sugar in here is, how much calories. I always tell people it's not a dietetic product. It's a grown-ass margarita for grown-ass women. Because if we made it diet, then we would have to add artificial sweeteners, artificial ingredients, right? So 100% organic tequila, organic triple sec, organic lime, nothing artificial. We're sticking with that. So, it's for our fitness ex. If you're somebody who's into fitness and you're into kind of like eating healthy and stuff like that, we're your team. If you're on a diet, I mean, maybe you just got to lay off the margarita altogether for a little while. I'm not trying to tell you how to run your life, because I've never laid off margaritas, but we're kind of sticking to the lane of super premium ingredients and nothing artificial.
Now, I got it. Outside the new company, I actually did a deep dive into your book. I did a lot of things. I was so amazed. The thing that amazed me the most is most people know you from Criminal Minds. They know you from very serious things, and they don't realize you're a solid stand-up comedian. I mean,
thank you. Thank you.
This isn't just something, I did a guest spot or I did a host spot. Or featured for this person. I mean, you've been in the game a long time, and people don't realize. They see you and they go, "You're very serious," and they don't realize how many stages you've done stand up on.
Yeah, well, I was a touring headliner for almost 2 decades. That's how I got into the business. So, I was touring the country headlining for years, and then my first break was the host of Talk Soup. So that's really how I broke into the business, was doing comedy, hosting Talk Soup, and then doing Friends. And so, I think my start was definitely comedic. And then I obviously still host, and we stopped recording recently, but I hosted Whose Line Is It Anyway for 14 years. So I've always had one foot in the comedy world. I didn't retire from stand-up, but honestly, what happened was I started working so much in TV that it was really hard to stay out in the club until 2 a.m. and then go to work at 6 a.m. And I just had to make a choice about which of my darlings I was going to kill. And as you know, since you do stand-up, I love stand-up, but it is grueling.
It'll beat you up.
It'll beat you up. Grueling. And I had many, many nights of eating, bar mix off my chest at 2:00 in the morning in a Marriott by the side of the road in the middle of the country. So once I was able to get, some TV gigs that, honestly paid a little bit more for a little fewer pints of blood, it was easy not to leave forever. I didn't retire. I just stopped for a little while. And I keep thinking about going back, quite honestly. I'm directing a lot of TV and film right now. And so that's where all my energy is going, is, kind of developing my directing career. if I ever get a break where I have a year where I could work out a new set, I might go back to stand up. So you never know. You never know.
Now, a lot of things you talk about in your book and everything else, and I really love this, is that you realized the material wasn't working and it was killing you, and you go, I'm going to start over again. And this is my advice to most stand-ups: write. People don't write anymore. They have like 30 minutes and 40 minutes, and they do that for like 10 years, and they don't realize they got to be like, I just did a weekend with George Wallace, and he's always writing.
I love George. I love George so much. And that's why he's been on top for such a long time. That's why George has been on top for 40 years or whatever. He's very prolific, right? So if you're a fan and you go back and see him over and over again, you're going to see something different every time you go, which is great about George. But it was hard to do in the beginning, because when you're a baby comic, every joke is gold, right? You're like, you'll try these 4 sad jokes about flying out of my cold dead fingers. Yeah. But then you realize that, if you're going to grow, you gotta let things go. And I was trying to think, it was a really, really great guy. I can't remember his name right now. It was another comedian where I was going through a rough patch, and I was like, I'm just really struggling, because I'd been headlining for a while, and all of a sudden my material wasn't working. And he's like, oh, you just go through growing pains. It happens to everybody. You're going to be fine. And he was right. Creative growing pains, finding your voice, which I think you don't have to be a stand-up to know. We all go through periods in our life where all of a sudden things don't seem like they're going as smoothly as they were before. But that's just being human, right? You kind of go through changes, and hopefully if you're kind to yourself, you come out on the other side and you're stronger and you know yourself better. So and then I think when you have 10 minutes, you're like, this is the only 10 minutes I'm ever going to write. But the more you write, the more you realize you're never going to run out of material. The more you write, it's a muscle. You get stronger every time you do it.
Now, I got in a fight with my daughter the other day. She's 20 years old. She's in college for theater. And I was telling her, I said, listen, you need to, do some stand-up. Get out there. It's the best. It's one of the best things to get comfortable on stage. And she goes, well, I don't know if it's the same and everything else. And getting you as a guest was like, I'm going, this is a godsend. You went to Dartmouth, you do stand-up, you're on TV, you're writing, you're doing everything. What kind of advice do you give to a 20-year-old girl in college, a woman who's, she wants to start a career? What would be the best advice you can give somebody like that?
And she's studying acting?
Yeah,
she's
she's in a theater program. She's doing what she can do.
Good for her. Well, it's tough because everybody's path is different, right? So, but here's what I will say. I think that your advice is great because it doesn't have to be stand-up. It could be improv, anything. But getting on stage and feeling comfortable on stage and like losing your fear of being in front of people and not knowing what to say next, like that, getting into that kind of mindset will make you a better actor. And I always think about, some of the greatest dramatic actors that we have came out of comedy. Tom Hanks, Robin Williams, Whoopi Goldberg. These are, even, oh God, I was trying to think of, I can't think of that. There's just been so many comedians that have come out. Oh, Steve Martin. There have been so many great dramatic actors that came out of comedy. It's because comedy makes you absolutely fearless. You have been up in front of a crowd. You have shed your armor. You're willing to be humiliated in front of strangers. And it just gets you, a bit more brave. So it doesn't mean that she has to be a comic, but just kind of being up on stage like that is a really great way to get, to kind of be a braver performer. The other thing I would tell her is try everything that's interesting to you, because maybe you want to be an actor, maybe you don't. Everybody kind of sees the glamour of it, but they don't all really know that, most of it is, you essentially auditioning. I mean, acting is like 1% acting and 99% trying to get a job. And sometimes people get into it and then it's not for them. So try everything. Maybe you want to be a writer. Maybe you want to direct. There's a million things you can do in this business. And you may not know until you try them. You might spark to something else, or you might want to do all of it. I started out as a stand-up, and then I started acting, and I started writing, and then I wrote 2 books, and then I started writing screenplays, and now I've directed 2 films and about 15 episodes of television. And at my 25, I would never have told you that, 2 decades later, I would be a film and television director. So a lot of that was just about trying things and pushing myself as hard as I could to learn and to grow. So those are things I would say is just be brave, try everything you can. Don't be afraid to fail. Lean into the joy of the job and don't worry about all the glamour, because that stuff's all fake anyway. Like, I'm all dressed up on top, and down here I just got sweatpants on. It's all smoke and mirrors out there. And, don't be worried about the dumb Kardashians, do your own thing.
I hear you. Now, one thing I found a kindred spirit in that we take on too much. And I try to find out what shortcuts, what can I do to improve that? What do you think the most important thing in your life you have to make sure you do when you're taking on so many different projects at the same time?
That's a good question. And I want to have a really great answer for you. I will say that, like, when I had my podcast, I get this question a lot. And they would like, what's your strategy for like your workflow and how do you get through your day? And I was like, I wake up in a panic. I execute as hard as I can all day, and then I collapse in a panic at the end of the day. And that is my strategy. I just try to knock as much crap off my to-do list as I can before my body fails. I've gotten a little bit better managing my time. And I think a big part of that is, these are some very boring things. I don't know if you listen to like those optimization podcasts online, but, this is very like Diary of a CEO. I try to really prioritize sleep. That's been a big thing as I've gotten older. Yeah. And it's not just about taking it easy. It's like I operate at a higher level if I get proper sleep. So I really try to, when I was younger, I was very much like, let's go down from the table on a Wednesday at 2 a.m. But now I'm a little bit more like a sundown. Like sun is down, so is Aisha, because I get up super early to try to like get a crack on my day.
So how many hours of sleep?
8, man. 8 hours.
Okay.
8. Seven is my floor. And listen, it doesn't happen for me every day, but I really chase sleep super hard because everything I've read is that you are going to have better ideas, be more optimal, be more effective if you've slept properly. And also, proper sleep prevents dementia. And I don't care if I get ugly, but I'm desperately afraid of getting stupid.
Yeah.
So that is my fear. I just lost a family member to dementia. And so it's really changed my approach to life and really trying to preserve the cabeza as much as I possibly can. Just take care of your brain. It's the thing that moves your body around. And then the other thing is like, this is very dorky, man. I make to-do lists. I mean, what's the thing that your coach used to scream at you in high school? If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. I literally am like living in like a 1970s like teen sex movie. I'm like, I get up early, do calisthenics, I execute my to-do plan, I drink my milk. The old methods work best. And I try not to. I've been saying no a lot more, not in a mean way, but when I was younger. When I was younger, I was very much like any opportunity that came my way. Yes, 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 yes. And now I'm just like, if I'm not excited about it, if I don't think I can do my best work, if I can't really knock something out of the park, I'll very gracefully say, I'm so grateful you thought of me, but I feel like someone else is going to do a better job for you on this. Because you gotta also give yourself time, and you're an artist, you gotta give yourself time to daydream and to advance your own priorities. And if you don't say no to stuff, pretty soon you find you're executing other people's priorities and not your own.
I got less than 2 minutes left, but I really wanted to get this question in. I used to do a lot. My first career, I was a criminal defense attorney. And the minute I stopped getting that off me, I mean, there was a lot of bad stuff, a lot of bad people. You did a show, Criminal Minds, for years. That
must have been really hard. Yeah.
You did a show.
We're still doing it. We're still doing it. We just shot season 19. It's going to drop early 2026 on Paramount Plus. So
how do you deal with the negativity some of the storylines are rough and, there's a lot of, I don't want to call it negative emotion to it when you're on stage and you're doing that. How do you release it? How do you get it off you when you leave? Or is it just something that you don't, it just falls away?
It's a great question. I'm going to give you 2 answers. So the first one is we have a real profiler who's worked for the show for many, many years. And he used to write scripts. And I always told him, I'm always terrified when you write a script because I know something like this really happened. Even though most of our stories are in some way taken from real news, I always knew his were like very close to the bone. And he would say, listen, there's a lot of gallows humor. When I was in the office, the way we deflected things was we laughed about everything. A lot of dark jokes, a lot of just trying to like diffuse the emotional bomb. And we were really kind to each other. We really like supported each other and you work really hard to make work a nice place to go. And so that's something we do at Criminal Minds. We're just a really close-knit team. I know people say that about their shows, but we're really a family and we try to lift each other up every day and make sure we're supporting each other and being as nice as we can. And then the other thing that I do, and honestly, this goes back to, being a comedian, is I just try to laugh as much as I can. I think, when I was a kid, when you were a kid, we didn't have this bombardment of bad news. It wasn't that bad things weren't happening. It just wasn't at our fingertips every minute of the day. And the human animal just really isn't cut out to take in this much bad stuff. we just don't have the capacity for it. So I try to stay up on public events, and I try to be a good citizen, but I also try to laugh and play and spend as much time with people that I care about as I can, do what I can to make the world a better place, and then have a nice drink at the end of the night and watch something that has nothing to do with finding bodies on a beach or in a dumpster or under a car. We're as animals, we're animals, right? We're really fancy animals, but we're animals. Play is really important. So, and being nice, you'd be surprised how much being nice to somebody else can make you feel great. So I force my friends a lot of times to let's go walk around and tell everybody how great they look. And my friends are like, this is so stupid. And then after an hour, that was the greatest hour of my life, because it's so nice to be nice to somebody and it makes you feel great. So I do a lot of walking up to strangers and tapping them on the shoulder. And then I'm like, oh, I feel like a beard. And then they're like, just tell me you like my beard. And as much as they enjoyed it, I enjoyed it more.
Well, I can't tell you, I love this interview. I loved your book, and I love everything you're doing.
Thank you.
I look forward to talking to you again, and have a fantastic day.
Let me give your listeners a discount code for margaritas if they decide to buy some. Yeah, so losophe.com, LOSOPHE.com. The code Secret Santa gets you, all one word, Secret Santa gets you 25% off all your margarita needs. And we got party packs if you're throwing a holiday thing. Just come visit us at losophe.com. We got your margarita needs covered. And I hope everybody has an amazing holiday season and gets a lot of rest, because 2026 is going to be new and exciting.
Thank you.